everyone. Welcome to a new perspective. I am Prophet Tanisha, and today I have with me one of our very own members, Tori Walker.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
And so today we are going to have a conversation about finances. And so with today, Tori is she currently has her bachelor's in accounting. She has financially advised some of her personal friends, as well as did the accounting for a larger organization, actually her former church. And so we're going to have a pretty decent conversation on today, and it may just be some nuggets. So, I just encourage everyone to grab a pen and paper and take some notes. So, Tori, my first question to you is, what are some of with advising people on their finances, right? And even, as you've done your own finances, what are some of the key mistakes that people make that causes them not to be able to save or to keep money?
The key mistakes that people make are spending money, not understanding that you have to know your wants and your needs. And when I talk about wants and needs, is you truly have to know, what do I really need now, but what do I really want? And sometimes you have to put aside what you want for what you need. Another thing that I find that people do is they do not keep track of exactly what they're spending. Because you have it all on a card, or you use a credit card, you use your debit card, you don't take the time to say, let me collect all of these receipts. And then at the end of the month, you are calculating, saying what I really spent this month, where I need to pull back on, and where I need to, maybe I have to increase because gas goes up, food prices goes up. So you're not accounting for everything that you're supposed to account for because you don't see it.
Yeah, especially when there's a fluctuation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then with couples, you always have one person dealing with the finances instead of both of you at the same time. I'm not saying for the couple, okay, if you're the wife and you're doing the finances, I'm not saying that you stop doing them and you give it to the husband if he doesn't do them. No, but you sit down collectively and you talk about, okay, this is what we have to do for this month. This is what we have to do for that month. These are the bills that are over that we have to pay for. What do you want? This is my layout of what our plan is. How do you want us to do this?
Yeah, so it sounds like a lot is geared around laying things out and properly planning.
Yes.
I can remember even back in the day, like my grandmother, my mother, they used to have their checkbooks, and you used to have to balance the checkbooks.
Yes.
And now that we've done away with that for the most part, well, my nana still use checks. However, now that for the most part many people have done away with it, they're not doing that anymore, it seems like.
Correct. They're not doing it anymore. And I believe, for me personally, it is a step that needs to be taught and continuously taught.
Yeah.
So you do not stop the old ways and traditions, you just modify them.
Yes, to today's time.
To today's time, yes. Because when they looked at, and speaking as our parents' generation, when they looked at their books, they saw exactly what they spent. How much food did I spend? How much money did I spend on food? How much money did I spend on transportation? How much money did I spend to run my household? How much money did I spend on my children? How much money did the activities that I have to give my children? How much money is for those activities?
Yeah.
So they laid out exactly what was going on, and they got to see, well, we might have to cut back on some of these activities because this and this has to go on today. We're coming into the winter. My heating bill goes up a little bit more because, I have a family of 4. I have a family of 5. I have a huge family. So that's going to be more of us at home in the
Yeah.
winter time. In the summertime, you know, your money might be going more to gas because you're driving now to the shore or, you know, vacationing and things like that. So they got to see exactly what it is that where the money is going.
Yeah.
And we came to this generation, we came to, oh, everything is on a card. You don't see anything. And then you sit there wondering why I have no money. It's like, well, if you would have planned for it or adjusted your budget, which I can show and teach, you will know exactly what you're spending. It is one of the things that I do all the time is I make sure that I still get my receipts. From everything that I purchase, I still get my receipts.
Oh, wow.
Because I need to sit down, and when I'm doing a budget, the first time when you're doing the budget, it's just estimated figures. So you're going to write down your house rent, house mortgage rent, however it goes. You're going to write down your transportation, how much that is. So if you take the bus, if you take Uber, if you take, you know, if you have your car, how much is it for you to get your gas every week? And you're just rounding numbers. That budget will always be higher than what you bring in. And then what I do is I literally write out what I'm spending my money on. So then at the end of the month, I collect all my receipts, put them together, and I said, okay, total up. How much money did I spend on food? How much money did I spend on gas? How much money did I spend on just spending money?
And you know, that is really interesting that you said that, because that's stewardship.
Yes.
And that is something that God requires of us. And the thing about stewardship is that it's very important in how we steward over the things that God allows us to have. You know, if we are faithful over a little, He can trust us with more. And so a lot of people lose sight of that concept. Now, when it comes to stewardship, and even, and what I like is that, you know, you talked about how you gather all of your receipts together. That means that you intentionally make time and set aside time to balance your books and your finances. So even once you get to the point of balancing your books and you say, hey, okay, this is my budget for the month. This is how much I bring in. This is my budget for the month. What are some techniques in terms of saving? Like, do you just wait to see what you have for the month? Do you take that out up front? Or, like, what are some key advices you can give us?
Key advices would be, first I take off when I'm writing down my, for the month of what I'm going to be spending. I actually take off my tithing first. That is my first line. You see on everything
you hear that, everyone? She takes off her tithing first.
Yes. Tithing comes off first. So however that check is, if it goes up, tithing goes up. If it goes down, tithing goes. However the check goes, that's what my tithing is for that month. Then I write out and make sure that all utilities are done. Now, how I do it first, because at the beginning, when I first started, I had to really clean up the bills that I acquired from college. And I went on this whole, everybody and their mama wanted to give me a credit card. And I said, yay, give me that credit card. Yeah. And not doing the plan that I'm in, I literally ran up bills like crazy and was like, wait a minute, hold up. So I did, I took classes, I read things, and one thing that I did learn was in my stewardship of being over my finances, it really says you need to work within your means. Live within your means. To me, it doesn't matter how small your check is, how big it is. If you work within your means, you can survive and live.
So would you say you create margins for yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. So what I had to start doing was literally, I collected all of my bills first and I put them in date order. And I put it from the highest to the lowest. And, or you could do it the other way around. Some people do it from the lowest to the highest. It doesn't matter. And what I did was I said, okay, as I am writing down what my monthly bills are for this month, so my rent, my car note, my car insurance, I take the major stuff and take it out first, so that my household can sustain itself. I'm not going to be homeless or, without anything. So I make sure my important things are calculated first. And then whatever I leave myself, if it's I try to do shopping every 2 weeks or every month, like your food shopping. So if I do that, I'll say, okay, I'm going to do no more than 150. Or because I have in my budget, I've already said I'm going to do no more than 300 out of my whole thing. So if my budget is no more than 300, then every 2 weeks I got 150 to play with.
Got it.
And then I can literally say, okay, what is important that I have to get? And one thing I noticed for me was when I go food shopping, I make sure I go on a full stomach. And my father used to do this to us. And
that is so interesting that you said that.
I go on
You make sure you go on a full stomach.
Yes.
Because how often do we go when we are hungry, we have a list, or we don't have a list, which is even more dangerous.
Right.
We go in there, we get things that we need, and then that we want or may want. We just picking up things.
Yes.
And so, and then a lot of times, well, what I have experienced, a lot of times you'll leave the grocery store and go pick up something to eat on your way home.
Yes, I have done that plenty of times.
I have to hold on to that. Go grocery shopping on a full stomach. Yes.
And I learned that from my father, because when we were a little younger and in between, he would go out on the Saturday. We would go out to eat. So I'll be with them, my parents, and then it would be lunch. So it'd be like brunch time, 12, 1 o'clock. We would finish eating, and then he's like, so what are we having for dinner? And we're looking like, we just ate. What are you talking about? What are we having for dinner?
Wow.
And he just, what are we having for dinner? You know what? And it didn't hit me until I got older and now that I said, oh, if I go on a full stomach, when I go to the grocery store, I'm only picking up what I need, not what I want, what I need. That's why I say it's very important to understand your needs and your wants. Because you will pick up, because I saw it one day. I said, I went to the grocery store, I bought like $300 worth of groceries, and still went over to Chick-fil-A and was like, let me go get my dinner for the night. And it was like, no. But when I write out exactly what I spent, I saw that I was spending over $1,000 in food alone. And it was like, where's the food? Wait, but I was being wasteful. Because the food that I purchased, I really didn't cook all of it. Or if I cooked it, I didn't want it because I wanted to go out. I wanted to, so that's where I began to say, what do you want? Do you want this money to start going to the proper places? When church is calling and saying, we have this event, we have that event, and you sitting there looking like I ain't got the money, well, you just ate it. And you just threw it in the garbage. You became wasteful.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw a little curveball. And I heard you speak about, budget and, setting this particular amount of money to the side that you would spend only. So, when it comes to sewing, when it comes to, giving into the kingdom and into the house of the Lord, what would be one's mindset when they are the type of person that only sets a certain budget, or they only keep a certain amount to the side?
I would say that you're going to have to go to God on that, because I did. I would set, this is my tithe. I know that the pastor's anniversary is coming up, so I know what the church lingual they did at that time. I've set just that aside for that. I would set just this aside for that. And the Lord got on me because he started stripping my money from me. And it was a shocker, because I'm not a big spender. I like expensive things, and I will get my expensive things. But I can sit there in the store and browse the store with no problem and walk out of there like, okay, I saw a couple of things that I want to put on my budget and say, ooh, I want to put away for this. I want to put away for that. So I'm not the one that's going to just spend money just willy-nilly, not all the time. So when it comes to setting aside and what he did when he stripped me, it became, okay, God, what do you want? So now it was, okay, I started to leave just a little extra, because there can be something that the Lord may want me to do. So I became conscious and aware of, Lord, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And I would budget for that. What do you want me to do? Just a little bit, because sometimes you never know until the time comes.
I was going to ask that. Like, would there ever be a time that, not that you're not able to budget, but would it ever be a time that you go outside of your budget, or the budget just won't exist because, you heard what the Lord said, and, that's what your obedience is, because, now it's time. Now it's a matter of prioritizing and setting things in its place. And, we understand that the Lord comes first. So it's just like, when he speaks, what would take precedence? The act of budgeting, or, well, the Lord told me to do, so that's what I'm going to do.
I'm getting into that place of it's being not the act of budgeting, because my systems say act of budgeting. My system says take precedent over the Lord. And now I'm getting to a place where it says, you really want to do that? He stripped you once. You don't think he's going to strip you again? Okay, Lord, what do you want? Okay, let me straighten back up. I'm sorry.
Because we know he can show you better than he can tell you.
Yes. So what I do is I do a little extra in my budget just in case, but if he's telling me to give it all, I'm giving it all. And then I will let him worry about how I'm going to deal with the next month. Let him deal with that, because it's and we have heard from our bishop and our prophet that apostle, that the Lord told them to do this, they did it, they didn't have a way, and the Lord fluctuated their money, so if it happens to them, why wouldn't it happen to us?
Yeah.
So I am becoming more diligent in doing that. I put a little bit extra aside if I have it, but if he tells me your budget is not going to work this month, then okay, what you want me to do?
Yeah, because it comes down to submission.
Yes.
And once you submit to his authority, saying, God, what do you want me to do? And I'm not going to move until you tell me what you want me to do. And what you tell me to do, that's what it's going to take precedence. I'm not going to deviate from it. I'm not going to try to tweak it or tailor it to how I want it to go. And I'm not going to gyp you.
Right.
And a lot of times that's where I think a lot of people, even in the body of Christ, can sometimes have a misconception of this, because they have their set systems and they say, this is what I'm going to do. If it does not fall within my system, then I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
Meanwhile, they are questioning why their finances are the way that they are.
And yes, because it does remind me of when the Lord gave the talents to the 3 men.
Mm-hmm.
He gave 1 to one, 5 to another, 10 to another. He knew exactly what we're going to do. So when I was thinking of that, I said, wow, Lord, you knew that 1 talent to that first man, you knew he wasn't going to do anything about it, but you hoped he would. So it was like, wow, you already know what we're going to do. That's why you lay it out and say, I can give you 5 because in this realm here, you're going to work this. Mm-hmm. I want you to still come up higher, but I know you're going to do this level. In this realm here at 10, I know you're going to do above and beyond of what I'm asking you to do. Mm-hmm. So I can give you that much more.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, because many times we don't even allow ourselves to get into that predicament, mm-hmm. where we can give complete authority, submit to authority and to God's authority, and allowing him to have full power and rule over us, including our finances.
Right.
And rather than waiting until something happens and he has to strip us for us to submit, because now it's a waiting game. Mm-hmm. Now you have to wait for that thing to turn back around. But had you moved quickly, or any of us moved quickly, and became obedient at the moment when he spoke and acted on that thing right then and there, we would never know what God can do. Yes. And it's like we kind of strip away the power that he has in his glory, because we just want to be stubborn, or we want to be stuck in our ways. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you said that, it's your systems, and that you are starting to do away with your systems, because you have come to a place where you are consulting God first. And a lot of people, they don't do that. They don't consult God first. I know some people that consult God for what they're going to eat, what they're going to wear for the day. And, some people think like, really, you really consult God for all of that? Yes, because I know that he is someone that he rests, rules, and abides. And he is all-knowing, all-powerful. It is him in which, and here's another thing, we say that it is in him in which we want to live, move, and have our being, but yet we want him to conform to how we want to do things.
Yes.
It's the system, everyone. Evaluate your system.
Yes.
And so we have the ability to do far beyond what the standard expectations are of us. However, would we? And I think that's the thing. Like, sometimes we feel like we have too much of a choice. So on average, I do have another question for you about saving.
Okay.
Because I know that there's been times in my past where I didn't properly budget, and I would just pop most of my money into savings, just to go back like maybe a week later and pinch some money back out. And so, what do you suggest as whether it's a percentage or whether it's a good amount, that is realistic for someone to save on average?
On average, I believe that a realistic number would be about $20 a pay period. You can put that away. But I do multiple things. And what I mean is, for instance, with my taxes, we all do taxes at the beginning of the new year, mm-hmm. for the past year. And what I started doing was I would do my taxes, I would get the check, and I said to myself, Tori, you live without this money for a whole year. Live without it for another year. So then I took that check, put it in a CD, and didn't touch it. So then next year comes, I did my taxes again. I said, all right, I live without it a whole year. let it roll. Did my taxes again. Said, all right, do it again. Tori, do it again. All right. Well, that CD wasn't open. So I said, no problem. Opened up another CD, threw the whole thing in there. If you could live without it for that year,
you can live without
it for another year. And then when it came down to a friend in need, really needs some money, I was able to go into that CD. Didn't cost too much to not close it, but to pull money out of it and give it to them. I was able to do that. And it did not touch my rent money, my utilities, nothing for what I needed to keep living. And that's what I tell people. Do not give away your rent money.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting because you had it in case of a need, in case there was a need, not just for yourself, but even to be able to help someone else. And if even in the body of Christ, if we develop the concept like that, I think that would be phenomenal, because then we are able to truly build up God's kingdom.
Yes.
You know, and we have that bucket that is, and I know a little bit about CDs, where so you have your interest rate and it goes up. Yes. You know, and so the longer you have your money sitting in there, the more you accumulate on it. And so I think that's just awesome right there. If you can go without your income tax for a whole year, the previous year, then you can go without it for another year.
Yeah,
and that makes so much sense, because even if someone waits until, let's say, March or April to file, if that's like their go-to months, the March, April goers, you'll still do the same thing that following year, that March, April. So if you haven't seen anything, and honestly, some people don't see anything. Some people, you know, they may do whatever with their W-2s where they see it up front during the year, and they may not get it towards the end of the year. In fact, you know what? What would you say to someone who prefers to do that?
I say you pay your money up front and then you won't get anything at the end. And
how are they able to still save? Would you still go back to the $20 method, or?
Yes, I would, because I always say when you are doing your budget, when you're preparing, and next thing you know, you are actually doing your paying down your bills that you have. When you are doing this, life is always going to happen. So you do not despise the small beginnings. It's now that it's $20. Later it will be $50. Later it will be $100. Later it can be $200. So do not, I tell people to start small. So if $20 is it, or if you have to go even lower than that, then go lower. It doesn't matter, because you don't despise the small beginnings. And you heard Bishop say it so many times.
I love
you heard
that.
Apostles say it so many times. I heard so many preachers say it. And it's so true, because when you're setting up your budget and you're setting up to pay off all of your credit cards, you could have this stride and you're going, and every month, you know, you're paying, oh, I got 1 down, yeah, and I got 2 down, yeah, and I got 3, and then you get to car note. Well, car brakes. That you got to do your brakes. Now your engine messed up. There was something out of the blue, and you're like, I can't even pay nothing now, because all this money has to go to the car now. Yeah. All this money has to go to this. And it's
I think
like
the blessing in that is that at least you have it to give.
Yes. So
that was awesome. Despise not the days of small beginnings. Yes. And so I would love to continue. We will be here for the next 2 hours, I promise you. And so I just want to thank you, Sister Tori, for joining me on today, A New Perspective. And I pray that each and every one of you have enjoyed this as much as I have, and that you took away some really good nuggets on this in terms of budgeting your finances and getting on top of your finances, stewardship, as well as understanding and learning how to build the kingdom of God. And so join us again on another episode that airs every other Tuesday on Anew Church TV. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.